There are two ways we can look at the RHPA. The traditional way is to consider the regulatory processes in the statute, and another way is to identify the key figures and institutions in the legislation and consider their roles and how they fulfill them. Let's look at both. The first key figure to consider is the Minister of Health and Long-Term Care. The Minister's role in RHPA administration, while significant, is often overlooked. This role has two important aspects. The first is for the responsibility for the administration of the Act. It includes duties like ensuring that health professions are regulated, that colleges develop appropriate standards, that the public can access the health professionals they need, and that they are treated sensitively in their dealings with health professionals. The second aspect relates to the minister's responsibility to guarantee that colleges act to protect the public interest. To support the minister in this role, the minister was given authority including the ability to review colleges' activities and obtain reports on them, the ability to make, change, or revoke college regulations, and the ability to appoint college supervisors whose authority supersedes the authority of the council and the registrar. Essentially, if colleges are not fulfilling their objects or acting in the public interest, the ministry has the authority to step in and assume responsibility for these activities. An agency that might be familiar to some is the Health Professions Regulatory Advisory Council. It's also called HPRAC. HPRAC's role is to provide the minister with advice on health regulatory issues. HPRAC authority does not extend to investigating issues that the minister has not requested advice upon or to provide this advice to anyone other than the minister. HPRAC advises on regulatory issues including whether professions should be regulated or not, what amendments might be needed for regulatory statutes, and the appropriate content for colleges' quality assurance and patient relations programs. The process HPRAC generally uses in developing advice for the minister is broad-based and consultative. While HPRAC provides its advice directly to the minister often publicly releases this information. Another agency to consider is the Health Professions Appeal and Review Board. Its role in relation to the RHPA is to provide a primary appeal route for certain kinds of college decisions. HPARB is charged with considering the decisions and reasons of colleges' registration committees and inquiries, complaints, and reports committees, when asked to do so by one of the parties involved in these reviews. For registration decisions, an applicant who is dissatisfied with a college registration committee decision can request a review. For inquiries, complaints, and reports committee decisions, reviews may be requested by those who made the complaint or the college member who had to respond. The board has considerable authority in its reviews. This includes the ability to override or confirm college registration or ICRC decisions, to direct the registrar to issue certificates with terms, conditions, and limitations, or require an applicant to complete specified training or exams. They can also refer the matter back to the registration or ICRC committees for further consideration, and their authority includes the ability to make recommendations to the ICRC or require the ICRC to do anything within its authority except initiate an investigation. HPARB also has a role to play in keeping college investigations on track. If a college investigation is not disposed of within 150 days, HPARB may consider the matter and either make recommendations or investigate the matter on its own authority. It's important to note that HPARB does not have the authority to consider the results of college discipline or fitness to practice matters. The first avenue appeal of these matters is the Ontario Divisional Court. Next, let's consider the role of the Fairness Commissioner. This is a fairly new one in the RHPA. The Office of the Fairness Commission was created in 2006 to ensure that the registration practices of professional regulatory bodies are transparent, fair, objective, and impartial. It includes requiring colleges and other regulators to conduct periodic audits of their registration practices and to provide reports to the Commission on their registration practices. For other professions, the Commissioner is governed by the Fair Access to Regulated Professions Act. For health colleges, the Commissioner's role is defined in the RHPA. Let's take a moment to review what we've just covered. The Minister of Health and Long-Term Care is responsible for administering the Regulated Health Professions Act. True or false? The answer is true. The Minister of Health and Long-Term Care has both the statutory authority and the responsibility to administer the RHPA, including the activities of health regulatory colleges. What do you think the Health Professions Appeal and Review Board does? Review appeals of the decisions of inquiries, complaints, and reports committees, review appeals of the decisions of registration committees, review appeals of the decisions of discipline committees, review appeals of decisions by fitness to practice committees. The correct answer is both 1 and 2. HPAR reviews appeals of decisions of inquiries, complaints, and reports committees, and it also reviews appeals of decisions of registration committees. And one last question, true or false? The Fairness Commissioner's role in the RHPA is to ensure that colleges register every applicant who applies. The correct answer is false. The role of the Fairness Commissioner is to ensure that the registration practices of professional regulators are transparent, objective, impartial, and fair.